Great.
So my name is Wendy Pearson, and I am the director of the Stockbridge Library, Museum, and Archives. And this is our second year of presenting a weekly online poetry series. The series was started by the former president of our board, John Gillespie, who will be moderating the session today. And the theme for this year is the refuge of witnessing. And so these topics will be explored with our poets who are joining us today. And we actually have a group of poets. The poets have called themselves, Tres Abuelas y una Mamá. And for 2 years, each week, 3 abuelas and 1 mama conversed around a table, sipping hibiscus tea and sharing stories and writing and writing and writing and writing. The Tres Abuelas are Maureen Seaton, Holly Iglesias, and Carolina Hospital. And the mama is Nicole Hospital Medina. I'd like to welcome all of you and thank you very much for joining us. We do have a more extensive bio of each of our poets on our website, and I'll put the link in the chat box for everyone so you can take a look if you want to know a little bit more about each of our poets. So without further ado, I would like to turn the program over to you, John, and to our poets. Thank you everyone for joining us.
Yeah, Wendy, thanks a lot. So let me just do one housekeeping piece of business. We do have a poetry mailing list. It's only used for poetry. It's under secure lock and key. If you want to be notified about, who's speaking at the next week program, you can give me your email address and putting something in the chat, so you can just send it to me and we'll add you to the list. So yeah, this is our first. I feel like it's at Holly's house or something, and she has all her friends over. We've had 2 people on the program twice, but we've never had a busload of poets at one time. So Holly, Maureen, Nicole, and where's Carolina? Oh, Carolina.
Together.
Yeah, okay. One more. Wait, one more. What did I say?
You got it.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Okay. You guys are together. You're confusing there. You're both in the same picture. No. It's great to have you read for us today. So I once again, Holly, you figure out how we navigate the group, but we want to find out this year, where people are seeking refuge, how they're seeking refuge. Are they doing it willingly, or are they just, how the circumstances of our lives, forcing us to basically seek refuge every week in some way just to make sense of it all? So maybe you and your group could start with that.
Well, I'll just say thanks, John, for having us together, and to Wendy and the library. And it's a great theme for a series. And it's pretty easy for us to, as a group, to recognize that this Friday meeting, which we've been doing for 5 years.
And now it's 5.
5. Then went on Zoom about 2.5 years, 3 years ago, before COVID. It's been a true refuge. So I'll give it over to the other mamas y abuelas.
So yeah, I want to add to what, hi Carolina, hello to everybody, and nice to meet you and for coming out on a Thursday. But yes, we've talked about so much before even this topic came up, how important our Friday meetings are. I mean, through especially these last few challenging years for the country, but also us personally. I don't know, having this place to come to every Friday for 2 hours felt like just going home, something I really looked forward to. You felt safe. it also motivated us because we give each other assignments for the next week. And so it was a way of having a place that felt like home every Friday. At least that's how it works for me. It was inspirational, but also felt like a refuge. That for those 2 hours, I knew I was safe within, my group. Anybody else? Maureen?
Oh, I was waiting for Nicole.
Okay. Yeah, I agree that it's definitely a refuge for me. And especially with the idea of refuge as witness, because we're just, as poets, we're constantly witnessing and we're constantly noting everything we witness and writing down everything we witness and trying to sort through what we're witnessing. And there's been so much to witness. So having like a home, you said, to kind of share in that witness and see how we all respond to it. It's been, really rewarding for the craft of writing, and then also just emotionally and spiritually having that refuge. And then I wanted to speak as well, they're all mamas, all the abuelas are also mamas, but I'm the only one that's not an abuela. So as a mother that gets to meet with 3 grandmothers every Friday, talk about refuge, right? Like having 3 grandmas, imagine 3 grandmas. That's also just a sanctuary for me and my daughters, and there's just no judgment. And like if I have to go change my daughter's diaper in the middle of a workshop, the grandmothers are gonna understand. Hi, Sam.
Hi,
So,
Sam.
Yeah.
definitely a refuge.
Yeah, I agree with everybody, and I just want to say the memory that I'm having sitting here right now is when Imama joined our group with La Bebe, and that was pretty special. Watching her crawl around the floor and my dog coming over and playing with her, and I don't know, it has been a really safe space for me. And I've been going through a lot health-wise over the last few years. And even if I can't make it for something else that day, I make it for that group. I don't know if I've missed even maybe one at some point when I had to go to a doctor, but yeah, everything is like, my daughter says, can you go see this doctor this week? And I'm like, any day but Friday. And it's the truth. So it's been more than a refuge for me. It's been a saving grace, really. I guess that is what a refuge is, isn't it? But I really love these women, and they have gotten me through one of the hardest times of my entire life. So I love you guys.
So it sounds like your group is Refuge City.
Refuge
It's a
City.
place you
It
go, a geography.
Yeah.
And does then refuge show up dramatically in your poems, or you have so much refuge you don't need to express it in your poems?
Excuse me. I'll go next. I actually think it shows up more in mine. It makes me aware of, this has been a pretty tough couple of years, everybody, right? And their presence in my life makes me aware of that there is love as well in this life, and that there is protection and there is joy. So whatever the question was, the answer is yes.
Well, I wanted to add too, it's so important that they're all poets too. It isn't just, random. It's great to have a random support group. I totally would, want that. But it's particularly important, as Nicole was saying, because we have a way of witnessing the world that is tied into language, and it's tied in to a certain perspective that not everybody gets. Right? Like we could spend 10 minutes on a word that someone else would say, oh my God, let it go already. Right? But there's no judgment, right? We understand each other. Okay, yeah, 10 more minutes on that word is okay. So it's important that we're poets. In fact, my husband is almost jealous. He's like, is today the women's thing again? I'm like, yes, I wish I had a place to go to talk about these things, right? Because we talk about funny things, but also profound things. The range, right? Holly, you can attest to that, our historian. Holly's our historian, so we can talk from, history to babies, any subject comes up, all in the context of, the creative process. And that's so important, the creative process as well, because we generate writing at the same time as we look at each other's poems and share. We also generate, a lot of our poems come from generating on those Fridays. Holly, did you want to add?
Well, I want to, listening to you and thinking about being at Maureen's place around the table and the tuna sandwiches and June on the floor. I was thinking how when I came back to Miami after 25 years away, I was finally back in the refuge of my family. I'd been apart from being a mama and an abuela from my kids for a long time. And so I think with this writing group, especially when Nicole joined, I think I started thinking and writing more generationally than I would have otherwise. And some of that has come out in some things that I can talk about another time. But I'd also like to point out that even though Maureen no longer lives in Miami, we started off in Miami, which is a city of refugees. And that is a really important thing to remember, and that all of us are bilingual. So when Nicole talks about language and a word, we're on it. We're definitely on it.
Yeah, Holly, it's kind of coincidental. There's another poet that's going to speak in a couple of months, and she says, "You want me to talk about the refugee of witnessing, right?" I'm like, "Wait, there's a refugee? I guess there is a refugee or refugees witnessing." Yeah, there's a lot of words in there. So is there, once again, I want to make sure we're adding a lot of your creative work. Is there a poem or two that someone could read just to, so we can listen to your work?
We're on it, John.
We're ready. We're ready to go.
We're ready.
Poem or two or three, yeah.
Yeah. We actually are going to read some from the chapbook, Myth America, with cover art by Nicole. And we have some new ones too.
Yeah.
So what are we starting off with?
America's Rifle.
America's Rifle.
So America's Rifle was actually our very, very first ever collaboration of the Tres Abuelas y Mama. And it was thanks to Chris Green and the Poetic Justice League who inspired us. And they put out a call for poems for an anthology called the Semi-Automatic Pantoums, a collaboration on gun violence. So this first attempt of collaborating in a set form inspired us and sparked us to keep collaborating. So yeah, this was the spark. And then also just to add about the form of the pantoum is a powerful way to deal with this challenging subject because its constant repetition echoes the firing of a semi-automatic weapon.
Okay. America's Rifle, and the epigraph is by Ocean Vuong. Gunfire is only the sound of people trying to live a little longer and failing. Exit wound, point of departure for the body shot through. Rainbow-colored shards shift the center of gravity. No one is wiser, no one alive to claim the win. Accurate and lightweight, it's America's rifle.
Rainbow-colored shards shift the center of gravity. Observe the shape of fear, profile sleek, matte black. Accurate and lightweight, it's America's rifle. Proud protector, at the ready, at each and every corner.
Observe the shape of fear, profile sleek, matte black. Loaded cartridge with wasted virtue. Proud protector, at the ready, at each and every corner. Ear-splitting discharge and smoke screens for hidden angels.
Loaded cartridge with wasted virtue. How cocksure your anticipation. How red-blooded your ear-splitting discharge and smoke screens for hidden angels. What will happen when every angel is armed?
How cocksure your anticipation, how red-blooded your authority. The camera is a sky. What will happen when every angel is armed? What will happen when the sound cuts off?
Authority, the camera is sky.
No one wiser, no one alive to claim the win.
What will happen when the sound cuts off?
Exit wound, point of departure for the body shot through.
Yeah, thank you. I see some of you clapping. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's a pretty obsessive, interlaced, obsessive form that works. I think it was great choice. I, of course, objected because that's what I do when we have forums. Like, I don't do that. But this was our first collaboration. It was a good experience for sure. It felt powerful.
It feels powerful now. Every time we read it together, I don't know how to express it. I don't know if you all feel the same, but for me, reading it together feels even more powerful than if I read it alone. Because I've read it alone at readings when I'm just one guest. But when we do it like this, the four of us, I feel this force of energy that's even more powerful.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so the next poem is the title poem, Myth America. And we will take turns just reading a stanza each. All right. Myth America. First grade ritual, the daily rosary. She runs hard and skips until the fall, bloody scrape rather than taking a knee.
She remembers the boy being forced to crawl across the field while his papa looked away, and her knee stinging down the hall.
She leans in, her silk sleeve against his cheek, as he in fealty, her champion, her swain, lowers himself, back bent, demeanor meek.
She thinks, kill me now, and hops a train to a land where no one's heard of chivalry or helplessness, two sides of a fake coin. On the gridiron, he kneels, not to pray, but to jolt a nation long asleep. She ascends without a stumble, leaps and slays.
Nice. Very nice. So how many of that first poem was really a collaboration in writing the poem, but are there other poems that you four have kind of collaborated on, or are they individual poems in the book by people?
We're only reading collaborative poems today.
Okay.
Yeah,
But there are some thematic that we each did a poem alone on.
Okay.
But these first three that we're reading, we did together. Like the one we just read, also Myth America, we each wrote stanzas together and revised them together.
Or sometimes we just wrote lines.
Lines.
I think the Pantoum was line by line by line.
Mhm.
But John, I think it's great that you feel the one soul of the collaboration coming out. I like that a lot, that you said that.
Yeah. No, it's like a barbershop quartet with words.
I love that.
Okay, you can use that line. That line's not patented. You can use that line for your next. No, okay.
Oh, thanks.
We'll use it in our
Good
next
one.
introduction. We're the quartet. So Holly, you want to do one more? Do you want to introduce the next one?
I introduced the next one.
Oh, I'm sorry,
I'm
Mom.
going to introduce Maureen.
Actually, I should let Holly do it because it has Spanish in it, but I'll do my best. I'm the slacker in the Spanish group, but I do my best. I've tried over the years very much. But anyway, this next one, How to Write the History of the World, is actually the first
History of the New World.
what did I say?
History of the World.
Oh, History of the New World. Yeah. I got for a minute, I was thinking, oh, that's not the one we're on, but it is. Okay. So it's the first one in the book. And I don't know, I think it's my favorite, but I really love it because it has each of us in it a little bit more. We wrote sections of this one, and we'll read the sections that we actually wrote for this piece. And it's called How to Write the History of the New World. And it's inspired by the title of the book by Jorge Canizares Esquerra. And it has his book has the same name. So if you're interested in if you like the name of our poem, go check out his book. And we are each going to read our own sections, as I said. So enjoy.
Hi.
A little child has come in.
Yeah, here's my poetry assistant,
Oh
my
goodness.
grandson.
Hello. Hi.
Good to see you.
Hello.
That's right, Luke. We're having a poetry session.
What's your name?
Tell me your name. Luke Johnson.
Luke Johnson. Hi, Luke. Wow, welcome.
Here, okay. Where's Mama? Nana.
I think he could hear
Okay.
this one.
He's so cute.
You want to just stay with him for a minute?
This one is PG or G.
More like PG.
PG?
Here,
Okay.
sit up here.
Maybe even PG-13.
He's little though.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Oh, I start. Sorry. How to write the history of the New World. 1. The history of the New World is an opal, a foundling, a failed Netflix special. Close your eyes and pick up your pen. 2. Write down everybody you've ever known whose name begins with a letter of the alphabet. 3. Any alphabet.
4. I believed the lie of the New World until I arrived at my Latin American art, history, literature, or anthropology classes at UF. Each slide of Chichen Itza, Teotihuacan, or Tulum, each photograph of ancient Aztec or Inca artifacts set my head spinning in these pre-Columbian civilizations with their mathematical and astronomical designs. Such startling mysteries in the mountains and valleys of Yucatan or Peru. Yesterday, I asked my Peruvian student if she had traveled to Machu Picchu. She looked at me dismayed as she answered, never. I suppose it's like expecting every American to have visited the Grand Canyon or the adobe houses of New Mexico. Our new world is an old world. Our survival depends on its old ways.
Should we go find Nana?
Physical books can be reduced to ashes, but not destroyed if we remember the words. And no one can monitor what we read or with whom we share them. Paper lettered by scribes is art, not just a certificate printed at the end of El Camino de Santiago de Compostela, where pilgrims sit waiting for hours, watching the screen until their number pops up and they are done.
5. When the history of the New World creeps into your dreams and threatens to poke you awake, curl tighter into yourself than a spiral. Your dream sequence will look like this: 0, 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 21, 34, 55, 89, infinity. 6. Consider the word new and fear there is no such thing, that you will have to completely create a new world yourself and realize you don't have enough years left to do it justice.
7. To write the history of the New World, return from whence you came. That place where there was only one world, this one. Find comfort there. Shed your wanderlust and winters of discontent and shabby profit motive. Bear up, carry those loads to which you were born. And then, should the appetite for voyage and plunder persist, venture out, first learning the 40 master words of Quechua, forcing strange sounds from your mouth, your fingers reading knots, discerning one thread from another. Leave your brittle maps and instruments of navigation, leave your well-worn boots and breeches on board, then dive into the warm waters, waters more blue, more green than you've ever known. Float in those waters, belly up, smiling at the sun that blesses you, the wind that caresses you. Roll in with the tide toward that shore where men and women, children and crones wait, astonished as you. Stand up, walk toward them, receive their welcome, eat their fruits, extend your hand, praise whatever God you find here, that you are alive and wet as a newborn babe.
Maureen, you're muted.
You're muted.
I did mute, thank you. 8. Now look at your friends writing how to write the history of the New World beside you and see how they barely move a muscle, yet the light surrounding them winks and flickers. Take this to mean that everything is new. Ask them to collaborate with you on the meaning of the word world. Write quietly. Your grandchildren are asleep in the next room. The tea is almost steeped.
9. Let the girls swim in Lake Okeechobee. Tighten those strings around your fingers and wonder who stands behind Jesus in the painting. Who is Jesus anyway? Ask the students for concrete evidence. Ask an electrical outlet how it feels. 7 is not an unsavory number. Rearrange the Caribbean. Turn off the television. All the dogs are barking and you're free to listen.
The end.
Nice, nice, nice. So let's just, Holly, if we could shift gears a little bit, because I'd like to hear your group, talk about witnessing. Witnessing, I think, is such an important concept, and I'd like to hear, individually or collaboratively, how you engage that.
Well, I can say that for me, it has been writing history small. I find that there's so many things to learn from the past that have only been taught in these huge sweeping issues, that when you reduce them to small, domestic, intimate details, they're very moving and it sinks in better. So that's certainly the witnessing I've tried to do as a history major kind of person. I try to tell the big story through the little story in my poems, and I think I bring that to our collaboration as well.
For me, I think that being a poet is being a constant witness to everything around you. And if I put together refuge and witness, then for me, a big part, as people that know my work know that for me, nature is a huge refuge. And especially in the last few years that have been so challenging. So for me, bringing in the witnessing of nature, right? Like it has to go through me. I have to be the witness. And then I have to share that experience through the word so that others can witness it with me. And that is a refuge, I hope, for me and for those who read the word also. I mean, that's how I tie in those two things, right? The process for myself, and then my providing, hopefully, some of that to others. Like I wanted to mention, like Michael Heddick, who I don't know if he's still here. He was here a minute ago, but his work gives me that feeling. When I go to his work, he writes a lot about nature, and I get that feeling of refuge when I'm in the midst of his work. And that's the hope that I have for my work as well, that through my witness, others will witness and find refuge as well.
I think also for me, it's about hopefully people finding refuge, like people witnessing what I write and finding refuge in that as well. Because I will, write about, motherhood or, feelings of COVID or, whatever it's happening in my life, I tend to write about. And I feel like there's vulnerability there, and it obviously makes me a little nervous, but luckily my writing group is my refuge. So it feels comfortable sharing there. And then that gives me the courage to write what's inside me. And then I'm hoping that my writing becomes something for others to witness that they can find refuge in. If that makes sense.
Yeah, there's a definition of witnessing that translates to, when you witness, it requires an activity or an action afterwards. And I guess you call it kind of, maybe that's where the word activist came from. So, no, I find that witnessing, well, for me, I guess because the world slowed down a bit because you don't go out that much, or I don't. And I get to witness a lot of things out my office window and
Mm-hmm.
in the neighborhood in pretty close proximity. And of course, we're in COVID daycare canceling backup. That's our role because they've missed like 4 weeks of school out of the last 8 weeks or something. So yeah, Carolina does it. So are there some poems that would play out witnessing, or how you've talked about it, that you'd share with us?
Yeah, we have some of the new ones, you think?
Yeah. Could I just add something about witnessing that I kind of thought about a lot and dealt with a lot years ago? I don't remember the exact time frame in history, but I do remember that it was very important for me to not only witness, not only write a poem as a witness or be a witness, but what that meant was an engagement with whatever I was witnessing. It wasn't just standing back and writing the poem about someone who had been raped. It was never standing back actually as a poet, but being somehow, learning somehow about that person, being with that person, learning my own sense of what that meant to me. And witnessing can sometimes mean standing back and not being involved too. But I think true witnessing is when the self is involved and we are all kind of, one as human beings. And Carolina mentioned nature, and you can stand back and look at nature, but not Carolina. She goes in there and she's like in nature, and I think that's where true witnessing can come from, is being in it, actually, with the person or the tree or whomever or whatever you're witnessing.
I think you're right. I think there's a requirement for bravery also, like when you witness, because like you said, John, if you witness and usually there's like a follow-up, so I think you need to be kind of brave sometimes to share what you're witnessing, or to be a witness, to not look away, right?
I never thought of it that way, Nicole, but I think that's excellent. It makes me think about that element, right? Whatever, that there's bravery in witnessing. It's something I have to think about, right? I never thought of it that way, but that's a really good point. To not want to look away, right? Or to pursue what you want to witness. That's another element. Do we make a choice or not?
I think of how it also makes space for the experience and voice of others, which is a big part of like documentary poetics or archival poetry, where you stitch in someone else's words within yours, which raises up a voice that, is just in somebody's, I don't know, linen drawer or something. And suddenly they're speaking from a time, for example. Yeah.
Well, I wanted to add that now that Holly triggered this idea, that I think perhaps that's why I love collaborating. Like, I've been writing my whole life, but I feel like my life just exploded when I started collaborating with other poets, because poetry can be so lonely. I mean, writing in general, but poetry in particular, we think of it as just witnessing and writing and reflecting all on by ourselves. But when you're collaborating, I think, not only brave, it is bravery. At the beginning, when Maureen invited me, I was scared to death. Anytime we did something collaborative and we had to read it, it was like, oh my God. Because I was used to writing and revising and revising and revising, and nobody could see it for a long time. But in the collaborative process, we often share very quickly. And it was very scary for me for a year, probably, till I started to relax a little bit about it. And so took a little bit of bravery to do that, and confidence to do that. But I speak a lot. My poetry wants to be a witness for love, right? Whatever love means to you, whether it's nature or family or something spiritual. And when we collaborate, I feel that we're actually, as poets, living love. I mean, there's a certain level of humility that you also have to have. I mean, you know, when I started, Maureen and Holly were already these amazing, you know, well-known published poets. And
You were published too.
yeah, I was published, but still, I always felt like they were like up there. But anyway, I'm just saying that for them to be willing to go through this process, it's a humbling experience, it takes bravery, but also humility. And it's actually putting into practice the idea of what collaboration is and what love is at a poetic level. I don't know if I'm expressing myself, but maybe you guys can help me out there.
Well, I think of how we start off after we, check in and say hello and blah, blah, blah. Somebody always brings some poem or quotation or something as a prompt, and we just jump in and write together for 10 minutes and then spit it out. I mean, you have to be pretty, like you started off saying, it's a safe place, but the bravery and also I often feel like, listen, I mean, I hear 4 different things, but then there's certain seeds in them together. That's like, it's almost like a Quaker meeting when you think, oh, I have a message I'm going to deliver. And then somebody else gets up and says it. You're like, what? But there's seeds that come out that we have just unearthed together, I think.
And you learn so much because we all read the same poem, we all hear it, and then we write these 4 different things. And I'm like, oh my God, where did that come from? Like, it teaches you also about
angles.
Yeah, angles and perspective. Like, what are we listening to? And how much of what we hear and see must be dependent on ourselves, right? Because Holly picks up on something and writes this whole thing, and I will go in a whole different direction.
Through the lens of what we've witnessed.
There you go.
Yeah.
Good one.
Yeah.
So we, the audience, I have to jump in here for a second because, soon the clock's going to start to work against
Yeah.
us. Like, for those of us of a certain age that watched Beat the Clock when you were younger, Bill Cullen, I wish I had that in my office. When those light bulbs went off, yeah, it was, I think that and Queen for a Day were my 2, 8-year-olds.
Okay.
Yeah, like Holly, we used to shout our own nostalgia.
Yeah,
Nostalgia, TV show, poetry.
definitely.
No, but I think some people had some questions. So I know, Lenny, you had a question. Why don't you unmute and give it to us?
Yeah, thank you. I was wondering, and this is to all you guys, I was wondering if, in terms of poetry of witness, are you consciously aware as you're writing the poem that this might be poetry of witness, or is it something that you see in it in retrospect? You go back and look at it and think of it in terms of some sort of poetry in witnessing.
That's a great question, Lenny. I feel like everything I write, I see it as poetry of witnessing. I just see that as my craft. I don't know if you guys feel the same way, but no,
Not always, no.
no.
Sometimes I am
Internal.
documenting the inside and putting it out, I guess.
Yeah, you write. It's also the different styles of
Yeah,
writing, because
yeah.
Nicole writes very internally also as well.
Yeah, I think looking at all of us, I would say that Holly and Carolina are most involved in witnessing, certainly what's happening in the world, sometimes really literally. And I think maybe I could be wrong, so correct me if I am, but you guys, but I think Nicole and I go inside internally a little bit more.
I think when you think of poetry, for me, when I think of poetry written right away, I think Carolyn Forche.
Oh,
And that big picture kind of the whole, witness kind of a thing,
yeah.
Well, that's part of it, but we each have a different way of manifesting.
Yeah.
Speaking of Carolyn Forche, since some of us write prose poems, when I first read The Colonel, I noticed that in the middle of that block is the phrase, say nothing. So now every time we get a prose poem, we're always looking to what's in the middle of it? And then Maureen and I both will mess with the margins and try to get it to, because like I don't justify it until I'm finished. And then I go, and the thing goes, and I'm always dying to see what's in the middle. And I thank Carolyn Forshey for that.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah. So should we read some new ones?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, that is fantastic. Yes.
Okay. Well, we're on a roll with, should I say this? We're writing a series of poems that are how-tos. And at some level, they're like advices in a time of plague. So we're going to start with one, how to raise her.
Sit in easy pose, one eye open, water dribbling behind you.
If she comes home crying about teachers or girlfriends or boyfriends, listen to her truth.
After homework, dance salsa together and count the stars.
Say prayers with her, which your mother said with you, which her mother said with her.
Feed her cheese grits for breakfast, beanie weenie for lunch, spaghetti for supper.
Braid her hair gently and often.
Teach her how to look someone straight in the eye, how to stick her chin out, and why.
Tell her you like the way she prefers animals to humans, or the way her hair does that little flip at the end, or the way she curls like a tulip shell in her sleep.
Remember how your mother raised you, and do the exact opposite.
Encourage her to curse whenever she wants, like when some guy calls her a tease.
Listen to her music, listen to her dreams.
Bring her to the forest every summer. Teach her woodpecker. Teach her salamander. Teach her tree.
Bring her to the ocean. When the salt air mixes with her young breath, she will know things even you don't know. Selkie, mermaid, little sea of dreams.
Now, write books faster than the moving clouds above you. Query, cross all your appendages for her.
Notice, the giant green turtle is about to land on her forehead. Interesting plastic. Hold your breath until she learns.
That's it.
I have to say, I just love reading your lines.
No, we're not reading our own lines. We're reading each other's lines. This one was very,
Oh,
how would we say it? I don't know, not chaotic, but kind of more
Fluid.
fluid. That's the word. Yeah. So we're often reading somebody else's line. So that's a lot of fun.
love
And
it.
we all have daughters,
Yeah.
and I'm the only one who has a son.
But I have a grandson.
I have 4 grandsons.
Well,
So we've got balance.
I have
We've got
2 daughters.
I got 2 daughters and 2 granddaughters.
I have 2 daughters.
Who's counting?
Really. Okay, so the second one is called How to Find an Answer.
Oh, I love this one. That's the other fun part about collaborating. You wouldn't come across your own poem and say, oh, I love this one. But with collaboration, you do. There's my grandson, everybody.
Hey,
Look at, he's out playing. Hey, Mike. He heard his name and he came.
That's sweet.
That's sweet.
All right. How to find an answer. The sky is always available, of course, and the ground requires foraging, but it is darker, coffee, wet. Go ahead and dig around in there with your third eye or your finger.
let a woman rest a minute. A nice bench, shade, breeze, a dog, tomorrow.
Ignore the first thing that comes to mind, or at least sleep on it for 24 or better yet, 48 hours.
Take a long, quiet walk along the shore or a hiking trail and listen.
Consult the world on one of the following. Ask Deb, Ask Bill, Aardvark, and anybody out there.
Find a library. There's usually one in the center of your town. Go inside, breathe deeply. That's how answers often smell.
Ask your little poetry group. They know everything.
Select the language to pose the question, which will contain under 7 words, no adjectives or adverbs.
Check inside the suitcase you took on that trip to Montana, the one with all the zippered pockets.
Stand still and stop talking. I mean it. Completely still, completely silent.
Amen.
Amen.
Nice. Very nice.
Thank you. That was fun.
Is there another one in that series? Like, nowadays, how do I create cash flow? Or no, I'm kidding.
No,
I'm
we
I'm a CFO by trade, so that's my job. Is I'm
Return
supposed
on
to
investment.
magically create money out of the air. So
We actually do.
We have two more. Do we have time for that, John?
we have 14 minutes.
Oh, great.
Well, these are about COVID, though. I don't know if you want to make the leap.
Why not? We're like, COVID is like a swimming pool we're in. It's like you can't get out of it. So yeah, we'll go COVID. We'll go COVID land.
Before we start, could I ask my esteemed collaborators, are we doing Carolina, Holly, Maureen, and Nicole?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
we just had a little glitch in the last one.
I made a mistake on the last one, but
You
we are
guys
doing
did,
it.
we did good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Didn't even notice.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Seamless.
This one's called How to Wear a Mask. A needle and thread. Tap 3 times. Shake your hair about, all the dusty. Make sure your breath is mint fresh. The eyeliner must be involved. Leaves, an open window, closed.
Think about a party with Romeo and Julieta. In the classic aquarium scene, the fish block your view to see beyond. You must decide if it's worth waiting for them to move or stare into the cave.
Incorporated into the other patriarchal accessories that stifle your voice and make it hard to breathe.
Stretch the ear straps until they sag. Blow into the fabric until it snaps open like a parachute.
Embroider a simple sentence on it that your tongue will read backwards. Back up, buddy.
Practice putting on masks in front of a mirror. Try Catwoman, Black Canary, Superman, oh, go ahead, and Ghostface from Scream.
Depending on your location within a violent and divided country, you might want to wear your mask stealthily. In cold climates, wrap a colorful scarf around your mask. In warm climates, draw red lips on it, kissing.
2 years ago, I would have said, wear it with turquoise sequins and gold coins and have a ball.
Today I say, tighten it and freaking raise it over your nose.
Yay.
I love it. I love it.
That's a good one.
Well, those will be the new CDC guidelines coming out next week. I'm sure there'll have to be some gold coins and stuff on your mask. Yeah, that'll be the next thing. Yeah.
That's what it could be. Advices from the Abuelas y la mamá.
Yeah. 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 Great. So
All right, well,
read-
this
read-
last one is how to pray in times of COVID.
oh man.
Yeah.
Love it. Love it. Love it.
Say the words your mother taught you, which her mother taught her, which came on a boat from Ireland.
Worship the vision of your toddler sleeping, the light from the TV, the shelter of a sofa.
Candles lit, relics close at hand, holy cards in rotation on a small wooden stand.
When the light creeps in between the blinds, rise with the sun.
Reach for your youth and repeat mercies that comforted you then.
Dread not the fever, the cough, the pain. Instead, heed the angel at your window pane.
Ask for forgiveness in the shower, water on the back, water on the face. Franz kissing the frosty window naively. Tell no one.
Sit in the oldest tree and ask her to pray for the world because you are just so tired these days.
Listen to the cottonwoods, the way sound rises from their roots, then moves on mournfully to the mountains, to the sky.
Sit with the sky without a word.
That's it.
And are these in Myth America also, or?
No.
No,
No?
we just wrote these like
Last week.
2 last week and 2 the week before that.
These are hot off the press. We haven't.
Oh, wow. It's
Yeah.
amazing.
We each wrote our lines and then we had to, well, Nicole is the queen of online cut and paste and move and
Yeah. That's another interesting element of collaboration or through Zoom that we weren't able to do before, where I could actually just we can cut and paste lines, I can screen share and we can look at structure and all these things together, which we weren't able to do that when we were collaborating at the table. We would have had to cut the lines and glue or something.
Which we did. It's just faster this way.
Yeah.
So I have a question for those of you listening to us. How does it feel to hear a poem with all these different voices as opposed to just one speaker? I'm curious about that.
As we say in class, feel free to use the
Well,
chat as
Yeah,
well.
I've always thought collaboration was always an interesting to do, but I never really thought about it till now when you say, how do you on the other side of it and listening to it. Reading it is maybe another experience too, but in listening to it, I really, I don't know all your guys' work in depth. I mean, I've read all your stuff, all your guys' stuff here and there. So I can't pick out anything to say, oh, yes, that sounds like a Carolina line, or that sound. And even a lot of the collaborations, I've read a lot of them by Maureen and Denise. And I've said to them more than once, I can't always tell which line is which. So I'm not sure that I can pick out anything, and I don't even know if that means anything. But I think that you guys weave it together into a whole where it's pretty homogenous to my ear. So unless I'm reading it on the page and something sticks out differently, but listening, not so much. Pretty homogenous, pretty smooth.
Oh, that's
I
nice.
think our only giveaways are Maureen and I have Irish grandmothers.
Yeah.
They show up from time to time.
Yeah.
Want to look at some of the comments?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm going to send you the comments.
Oh,
Mike
okay.
likes it. He says, it sounds pretty. Lori Innocent, I feel so guilty. Now I have to read the book.
That's my partner.
Yeah, that's, yeah.
Yeah, I'm seeing Carol, Joan,
Yeah.
Sonora.
Love your
said
new
something.
poems. Different voices make the readings interesting. You feel the
Oh,
passion each
very
person has for the words they say. No, I think I think, well, another session we did, and Holly, this was before you, this was Malachi Black.
Oh, yeah.
We said, we'd like to use your poems in these themes. Then we always have usually a pre-chat before the live hour. So he said, I'm going to read all these other poems. I basically said, good, you can read all those other poems. So part of it is, I think the purpose of this is really, Holly, poetic freedom, for you to find a new way or just to reinforce a current way of expressing your creativity. So I think it was great. I felt like it was, I said, maybe it's not the barbershop quartet, but I feel like it's a chorus of voices and each voice has a different feeling or sound to it. So I've really enjoyed it.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's exciting for me. I love doing it and I love reading together.
Yeah. Thanks for opening up your barbershop to us.
Yeah, well, it used to be part of my barbershop when I was the board chair. So it's really Wendy's barbershop. So Wendy and I co-produced this. And no, it's just.
What a wonderful series.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I love poetry. I read David White's book, The Heart Aroused, in '96. And after I read the book, I said, I need to leave my job.
Yeah.
Hi, can I say something?
Yeah.
Okay, hi, hi everyone. The
Hi,
thing for me when I was listening to the poetry, I don't have any grandchildren, and I think the most beautiful thing in the world is how having grandchildren opens up another part of you as a woman and it gives you the ability and also access to the creativity and the way it comes out. Because every time we have an experience or things are added to our lives or taken away from our lives, as a poet, it's reflected. And from hearing your poems, it feels like even if I didn't have, even though I don't have a grandchild, like it would be wonderful. It's a wonderful, wonderful experience. And because I'm sure that having, you know, being, I said that already, has affected you in some way. The writing is phenomenal.
Oh, thank
The
you.
writing
Thank you
is
so much.
absolutely,
Thanks, Lori.
absolutely. I love it. I love it. And
Thank you.
I just, you know, like I said, I feel guilty because I was. If I could get over I'm so sorry, and this is probably very, really bad, but if I could get over the title, I would be okay.
Oh,
Because it reminds me of like, this is horrible, but like Mike Tyson, Miss America, you know, it's this, you can't say miss, or he can't say anything with an S. Like I feel you know, it's like it's wrong. Okay, I'm done now.
Lori, don't you know our sequel is going to be Mr. America?
yeah. Well, there's Wendy.
I love you guys. Thank you so
Bye.
much.
Thank you. Thank you for
Thank
those are
you.
wonderful words. And you're right. You keep opening up. When I had grandkids, I didn't think I could keep opening up more than with my own children. And you do. So thank you for saying that. And hopefully it has impacted my writing as well. So
Yeah. No, I think it was really special. I want to thank you for obviously your toolkit. How do I do a prayer? How do I, you know, I think part of it is just that you wrote stuff the week before. Now you're showcasing it here. So
Yeah, it was fun to be able to
no,
do that.
really, you know, really fantastic experience. We need to get off in a minute because Wendy has another Zoom after this. Yeah. I have another Zoom from 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock tonight on the
Oh,
West
my.
Coast. So
Wow.
yeah, life gets busy.
Woo.
But Maureen, Holly, Nicole, and Carolina, thank you for your energy, your collaboration. Looking for some more of those how-to guides that I can, you know, you should put those in a book. Isn't there like a book like
we're
how to
planning
survive
that.
in the woods or something, or it should be how to use poetry as your witnessing tool, you know? So, but really, thank you, everyone. It's
Thank you.
you made it a
Thank you very much,
fantastic.
all of you.
Wonderful, guys.
Yeah.
And thank
Thank
you for
you
everyone
for
that
being
came.
here.
Really wonderful. Thank you all so much.
Thank you, students.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Have a
Bye.
great
All
afternoon.
right.
Tomorrow, poet. That's
Oh, yeah.
bye.
Yeah.
Bye, Carol and Sonora.
Bye.
And Joan, and
Bye.
Thank you all.
bye.
Bye.
Bye.